Right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone looking in at home. Atwater City Council meeting for February 8th, 2016. If you will all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation by Chaplain McClellan. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, as we approach your throne tonight, we're so thankful that we can. We thank you for all those that have assembled here tonight, Father, to discuss the affairs of our city. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom. We thank you for our city council and our mayor. Lord, we ask you continue to have your hand upon them and bless them. And Lord, give them wisdom as they direct our city. We also pray for our law enforcement tonight, our police that are out. Lord, we ask that you protect them, get them home safely. We thank you for their families. We also pray for our fire department, Lord, the men and women that work there. We ask that you have your hand upon them and protect them as well. And Father, we just pray for Linda tonight. Lord, we ask as she gets ready to go see her doctor, Lord, that, we're looking for a healing. And Father, we just ask that you have your hand upon her. And Lord, just work your perfect will and way in her life. We also pray, Lord, for you and for us. Lord, we ask that you continue to watch over us, guide and direct us. For we do ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Berkman?
Here.
Raymond?
Here.
Rivero?
Here.
Vineyard?
Present.
Price?
Here.
We have a quorum. Mayor or city attorney report out from closed session.
Mr. Terpstra, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and public, council did meet in closed session to talk about a couple of properties that are subject to negotiation. No reportable action was taken, but staff was given direction.
Approval of agenda as posted or as amended.
Are there any items that the council wishes to amend or add, delete from tonight's agenda? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Call for the question.
Berkman?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Rivero?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion carries. Presentations. Monthly verbal report by Merced County District 3 Supervisor McDaniel.
Mr. Mayor, Board, thank you very much. I actually have a lot. You guys are ready? I have a 40-page PowerPoint. Can you? Just kidding. So anyway,
Yeah, you better be.
Anyway, want to let you know Merced County is well underway with its housing element update. This upcoming study sessions at the Planning Commission is Wednesday of this week, and at the Board of Supervisors on March 1st. Are you guys all familiar with the housing element?
Why don't you give us a brief synopsis?
Basically, we're wanting to make sure we have enough housing here in the county available for the people to move into. We don't want to be in a shortfall. So if we don't have enough housing, we want to make sure we have enough land available for more housing. We're moving forward with 3 community plan updates in the communities of Planada, LeGrand, and Winton. We continue to take steps to privatize Castle, as we have 7 more private property sales in the pipeline, with another sale on the board's agenda tomorrow. The county is working towards securing funding to jumpstart the Black Rascal Creek Flood Control Project, which would include construction of floodwater detention basin 2.5 miles east of Merced. This feature would help prevent future floods that have ability to damage infrastructure, land, residences in Atwater and Merced areas. The county is currently working with Congressman Jim Costa, Senator Dianne Feinstein, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and local partners to establish a funding source. the funding has been made available, but we have to come up with $100,000 to get it started. The county actually budgeted for it. We offered them the $100,000, but they can't take our money. So we're looking for another funding source and the House has some appropriations coming up right now. So we could know by as early as tomorrow if we have this project ready to roll. This is something that was brought up to me. They would like to invite everyone attending the meeting and watching to sign up for the Merced County Emergency Notification System. The platform, the county and the 6 cities uses this issue critical notifications. When there is a potential safety hazard or concern, messages are sent out to those who are signed up through either phone calls, faxes, emails, or text messages. There is no cost to register, and this service is at www.co.merced.ca.us/alert. As a reminder, I hold my mobile district office hours here in Atwater City Hall. They're scheduled on the 4th Thursday of each month from 1:30 to 3:30. This next round will be February 25th. During these mobile district hours, I am joined by representatives from Atwater City Council, as well as offices of Congressman Costa, Senator Anthony Cannella, Assemblyman Adam Gray. All are welcome to use this time to meet with me, others, to share your opinions, discuss subjects, interests, and emerging issues. Like I said, this is a time when you can complain and we'll all listen. Construction of the Atwater Merced Expressway, Phase 1A, is nearly complete. The new interchange is now open, including the southbound and on ramps, which opened last month. Aside from a few minor enhancements, the project team is currently working on new sidewalks along Green Sands, which was added to the project as a result of cost savings. And all is expected to be completed within the coming weeks. MCAG staff is working on setting a date for a ribbon cutting in March. That's my update. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Supervisor McDaniel? Okay. I just want to say, what you were talking about, the emergency notification is, other people may know it as the reverse 911 system, and it does work. I've signed up for it, and yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. And in the event of any kind of a catastrophe of some sort or another, it's the best way to know what is going on and what you're supposed to do about it. And I always use the example of the ammonia leak that happened over at Deol. And when that happened, a lot of people, they were freaking out about that because the winds that night were traveling north rather than south, and had it blown into the city, word was that we would have had to evacuate the entire city. It was that severe. So where do you go? Do you go into it? Do you go away from it? You don't know what direction you're supposed to go. Police and fire are busy doing other things. So this is a really, really important thing. So I thank you for bringing that up tonight.
Great.
The county website is where you go, and you can sign up on that. And
Right.
It's a good deal. So.
And also, I know it's a little early, but I want to make sure everybody knows about our event coming up May 14th out at Castle. Peacemakers, peacekeepers, and our defenders. We're honoring all veterans, active military, police, and firemen. It's a way for us to give back to the community and give back to those guys that protect us.
Mr. Vineyard.
I want to take the time to thank you. We've talked several times about the VFW hall here in Atwater, and I want to take time to thank you very much for repairing the roof. It's a vital building in this community. A lot of things happen down there. I know you've taken heat over it, but I think it's a great thing you did on repairing the roof.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Supervisor McDaniel? Thank you, Darren.
Sure. I just apologize for it taking as long as it did, but government, actually, we made it move a little faster than what government can usually move, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Comments from the public. At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. To comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait until the item is read for consideration. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes.
Is there anyone that wishes to address the city council? Give your name for the record, please.
Gary Bryce, 106 East Manzanita Drive, Mayor and City Councilman. I have some questions here, even though it's a small town and everybody knows your name. If you don't know the answers, you go and ask questions. We had a business come into town that was doing free phones. And we pulled the application for it, and it's supposed to go through all departments. This did not happen. And I know for a fact because I had called the guy who was the district manager out of Turlock and told him he needed to get a business license, that setting up in the middle of a parking lot, blocking traffic, etc., was not cool. He went to the planning department, and the planning department told him no. However, they somehow exist, or did exist, and they were charged $1 for the license. And the only reason they can get away with that if they're a nonprofit. I've seen no documentation saying these were nonprofit organization. The least amount that can be charged in our business license fee is $10 for a jukebox. Just example, $500 for a palm reading service, etc., etc. You can read it. We are leaking money, and I think we should close some loopholes here so we can get what the city deserves. How this all happened, how it was approved, I have no idea, but the system was circumvented somehow, and I'd like to see that corrected. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gary. Chief Petro, if you could absolutely look into that. Okay. Okay. I agree with you, Gary. The kiosks, if you will, that I see set up, I believe these are the government free phones.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I must be going deaf, but I cannot hear a word that you're saying.
The kiosks that you're referring to, I think that those are the government free phone program, and I agree with you that I think that there should be some sort of a permitting process for that. So Chief assures me it's being looked into. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Come on. Eric Lee, 1199 Atwater Boulevard. To draw an analogy to what I'm going to talk about tonight, my dad served in World War II for a little over 2 years, and I used to ask him, "Did you see the whole war?" He said, "No." He said, "My field of battle was right here. I didn't know what went on 2 miles that way or 2 miles that way. I didn't know what went on in other countries. I only knew what was right in front of me." A lot of it I learned after the war. I'm kind of thinking along those same lines. My neighborhood's a good neighborhood. We don't have a lot of problems. The gang activity is away from me. It's on the other side of town. Swaps, Kelso, determine. Doesn't affect me directly, doesn't affect my neighborhood. So I kind of don't pay attention to it. Then the article comes out, ends up on Facebook, where the little criminals decided to do a video showing how tough they are, the guns they have, the crimes they're going to commit. And once I saw that, I said, enough's enough. I've spoke before this council more than once about the problem we have in that area and other areas of Atwater. And I think it's about time that rather than spending money we don't have on more policemen, and we don't have it, you've said that many times, and looking to Measure H to fund our police department, which it cannot do. We know that. We're limited funds there, and it's a finite bond or measure or whatever. It's going to go away. I think it's time we start looking at going after the landlords. And I've talked about this before,
And I've been studying it through the state of California, and there's a number of ways. I'm sure Tom can weigh in on this. I'm sure he knows what a nuisance per se is, Public Nuisance and Equity, Drug Abatement Act, and the STEP Act for gang injunctions. We need to start getting these people out of our city. It's hard to arrest them and get them incarcerated. It's a lot easier to take away the places they nest in. And I think that's something we have to really get serious about in Atwater if we're going to see this problem go away. We can march in the neighborhoods. We can put signs on our walls. But unless we take positive and affirmative action on these individuals, this problem's only going to get worse. You know, one of the things about aging and living in a community as long as I have, I've watched this problem start in the 70s and 80s when everyone said we didn't have a gang problem. There's no gangs in Atwater. I heard an expert from LA come in 1984 and talk about the gangs and how bad they were in our area. We didn't talk about it then because we refused to recognize the fact. And I can remember when people were telling us the problem exists in Winton or Delhi or Livingston or the unincorporated areas of the county. We have it here. It's bad. We know what went on. We know what went on today. This is going to continue. I hate to think what happens when Bellevue School gets shot up in a drive-by because these guys don't hit their targets and they hit the school, or they hit an innocent person who lives in Old Castle Gardens. Please, start looking at this. Let's work on it. If you need to form a committee, let's do it. If we need to get better legal minds than mine, and I'm sure there's many of those, let's do it. Let's get this problem solved now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Lee, thank you so much for your comments. I share your concern. I've been in contact with the chief many times now about the need to focus on a gang unit if we can, trying to do whatever we can to get our staffing up to full levels, and then start working towards, bringing in more leadership because, Lieutenant Joseph can't do it all on his own. So there's steps that we're taking. Public concern, public opinion is huge. So thank you very much for coming forward.
And I understand the gang task force, but that's reactive. Proactive is going after the source, going after the bottom line, which is where they live. And we can do that. It's the precedent's there. So all of that stuff in whole, yes, I agree with you. Good deal.
Jeannie.
Jeannie Knight, 3218 North Buhack Road, Atwater. I'll be darned if Eric Lee wasn't right. That's exactly what I was going to talk about. I keep thinking, the disabled veteran keeps coming to my mind. He's been in here twice, and he lives undetermined. Is there not something that you can do to charge the landlords or something? You can give them a warning once, but by the second, third, fourth time you go out there, if they're gangs, drugs, or domestic violence, whatever it is, somebody needs to start charging the homeowners. And most of them are probably rentals. Is that illegal? Tom, is that illegal to charge them?
Mr. Terpstra.
Well, this is not something we've spent a lot of time at my office researching to date, but certainly it's something that the council will probably direct us to take a look at, and we can bring back a report on that.
Thank you. It certainly needs to be looked into. And secondly, city manager, what happened to the thing that goes around that In God We Trust? There's supposed to be a cover around it so those holes don't show.
I have no clue. I've never seen a cover.
Oh, it does exist, here somewhere.
Well, we'll try to find it, but I've never seen a cover.
You just have, it's kind of a little foam thing, but you have to paint it that same color kind of as the wall, and it hides all those holes.
I don't remember seeing it. We can check with Brian.
We'll check with Brian and see if we,
Because it is there.
can we cover the holes? That we
Yeah, it covers the holes.
Okay.
have no clue. We'll find it.
Okay, thank you.
Check with Brian.
Linda Dash, Atwater. I think if maybe our council could maybe direct staff, our city attorney, to contact the city of Merced's attorney. I believe several years ago, Merced had the same problem, gangs, drugs, so on and so forth. So they enacted an ordinance. They made it pretty tough on the apartment owners and gave them so much time to clean it up, or else the city was going to take it over. And a little mouse told me that that ordinance was in existence, and I can probably find out tomorrow by calling Mr. DeSetti, who was very, very involved in, I believe, authoring that ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Mike Raymond, Redwood Drive, or Avenue in Atwater. I've been watching the news the last few nights, and Tulare County just put in their third gang injunction against the third city. And it's working in Tulare County. They are clearing the problem. Now, if you want to go find what one of these injunctions look like, I think Tulare has 3 very effective ones working from out of the sheriff's office. And they are using them on a daily basis. We need to go that route.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else wishing to speak at public comment? Next item, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Raymond.
Chief Petro, this is for you. We do have a drug ordinance on the books already, correct? Okay, and if drugs are being sold in the apartment or home, something can be done and the owner can be penalized, correct? Correct. Okay, thank you.
Let's remember that the last couple of shootings we had there were brought in from Livingston. They were drive-bys. And the one we had tonight was a drive-by. The residents or the suspects are out of Merced. So I will tell you that we have been working the area quite heavily, and we have some other things that I really can't discuss at this point in time. But I will look into what Mr. Lee stated. I think that's probably a good idea. Most of the landlords, as you all know, are out of town. They could care less about their apartment complexes as long as they get their rent each month. So we will look into that effective starting tomorrow.
Next item, please.
Consent calendar. Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Is there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the council would like to remove for separate consideration? Are there any items that the audience would like to speak to? We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Call for the question.
Raymond?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Bergman?
Yes.
Rivero?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, city manager reports. Selecting lettering, style, and color for the In God We Trust sign in front of City Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, I'm going to turn this over to the Mayor Pro Tem. He conducted, along with Councilman Raymond, a meeting last Wednesday. So, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Last Wednesday, we had a public forum for the citizens that had concern to come in. The meaning of the meeting was to select a type of lettering, coloring, and the placement for this sign. As I stated at the last meeting, I truly felt that this was paid for by the public, so they had the choice to make. So we had several types of lettering out there. The type of lettering that was decided was this type of lettering.
in a gold metallic color to be placed above the door. It was unanimous by all the individuals that were there selecting that this be what we use, and just in simple, in God we trust. No flags, no decoration, just the verbiage. This is what, like I said, this is what they picked, and this is what we're presenting tonight to the council to vote on.
Are there any members of the audience that wish to speak to this before we discuss it here? Can I quote you?
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Mr. Vineyard.
Yeah, I'd like to correct that. It wasn't unanimous. There was at least two people there that I know that tried to speak, that were, at least one was ignored. She left. It was my wife. She had a completely 180-degree opinion different than mine. I want that to be on the public record. She doesn't believe that In God We Trust should even be on the building or in this room. So she wasn't there to speak for me. I want to make that perfectly clear as well. But she went to give her opinion, and as I said, she came back very frustrated. She tried to discuss something, and she was ignored, so she left. I know that Mr. Olzak also left and didn't get to even discuss anything. So there wasn't any discussion. The webpage says it's an open forum to receive public input, but there wasn't really any discussion. So it wasn't a meeting, and it wasn't unanimous. So I just want to put that on public record. Thank you.
Pro Tem Bergman.
Well, what I'd like to put on public record is the fact this meeting was specific, not whether you wanted it or not, specific to choosing the letters, choosing the color, and choosing the placement. That was what the meeting was advertised as. That's strictly what it was for. There was an individual, Mrs. Vineyard did pose her opposition to it, but that was not what the meeting was for. So I just wanted to make that clear as well.
Okay.
And one thing I would like to add to this, and I want to do it now so I don't forget. When we did this in November, we had several citizens that made donations. When we did the dedication, those citizens were, we let everybody know who their names were and who made the donations, but I missed one. And knowing that, I would be remiss in not thanking the Raymonds, Mike and Pam Raymond, for their generous donation in helping put this forward. I think it's fair that everybody be recognized for this, and I just wanted to make sure that they did receive their recognition. Thank you.
Mr. Vineyard.
Okay. This was set up, and the request was made that there be 4 options. One was none of the above. That option wasn't there that night. That was an option I requested to be put there. Now, this all started July 13th, 2015, when the city manager first brought. We've taken 8 months to do this. 8 months that we could have spent on doing or working other things in the city that needed to be worked on. The second sign that was put up never came to this forum to be voted on, never came to this forum to be had public opinion, never got approved by the CDRC, and got put up with none of us here even know what it looked like. And because of that, you had a public outcry. It got taken down. Even you said it looked like crap when you unveiled it.
Not exactly my verbiage, but...
Okay, I cleaned it up a little bit with the last phrase. But in any case, we've taken 8 months to deal with this, when it should have taken 2. We should have went from the very first step, which you did supposedly Wednesday night. We should have done from the very first step. That's what has me so upset about this whole process, is 8 wasted months of dealing with this. We have this process of dealing with this. It was supposed to be an open forum. That's what's on the website. Open forum means there's discussion. It doesn't mean you go and sit there and pick. You could pick, but you also have to have a discussion. You have to be open-minded. You have to take input. You just can't slough that off.
Final word,
So-
Mr. Bergman?
No, I'm not done yet, Mayor. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, well, let's wrap this up, because all we're doing is approving lettering tonight. This is, as you said, we've had a lot of discussion on this, so
Can I
let's
finish now?
stick to our
Can I
agenda
Can
item.
I finish now, since you interrupted me, sir? Thank you.
Mr. Vineyard,
No.
let's understand something.
No, Mayor, I still have the floor, so let me finish, and then you can make your statement.
I'm not making a statement.
No, you are. You let me finish. I have the floor. Thank you.
Let me
Now,
remind you who
no,
runs the meetings here
no,
also,
let me-
Mr.
Let me
Vineyard.
tell you something.
The-
With Robert Rules of Order, I have the floor. So let me finish what I have to say. We can go on and we can vote on this, because I know what the outcome's going to be, but I still have a right to say what I'm going to say. When we do this, we need to do it in a very concise and quick manner so we can get on with things, not stretch it out. And we need to be open to everybody's opinion. And we need to listen. And that wasn't done here. That's what upsets me. So you can have your vote and go forth. Thank you.
Pro Tem Bergman for a final word.
I'm going to make this simple and short. I'm very disappointed in what I just heard. There's been a total lack of professionalism up here, and I think it's disgusting, and I, for one, don't condone it. But my last word is I move to approve the community's recommendation on lettering and placement of the "In God We Trust" sign.
I'll second that motion.
Call for the question.
Bergman?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Professionalism is a matter of opinion, Mr. Bergman. No.
You have none.
Rivero?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion carries. Reports and presentations from staff. Reviewing fiscal year 2015-16 mid-year budget and adopting a resolution approving a budget amendment regarding certain adjustments based on mid-year budget analysis.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. First, we will just review the revenue and expenditures for fiscal year 15-16 as of January 31st, 2016. So these are unaudited numbers. So as you can see, for property taxes, projected 2.2 million. So far we received 1.1 million. For sales tax, we projected 2.6. We received 788 so far. Then franchise tax, same thing, 620 we projected, but so far we received $149,000. So altogether total, we received 32% of our projected revenue as of January 31st, 2016. And in the middle, we have expenditures. So far, all the departments are within the budgeted expenditures, and we have incurred 43% of our projected expenditures. So as of 31st January, we do have a shortfall of 1.3 million for general fund. This is due to the timing, because property taxes payment, the first payment we received in January, but the next payment we will be receiving in May. So as of right now, expenditures are being incurred continuously, but revenue is just timing. Then we have a then we just have a breakdown of property tax, sales tax, license and permits, so on and so forth. So altogether, we're still basically only 32% in for revenue. Then for the enterprise funds, for water, we are projected revenue of 3.7 million, and so far we received 2.2 million. Then the expenditures are projected to be 3.3. So far, we incurred 1.3 million in expenditures. We do have a surplus of $885,000 under Water Enterprise Fund. For sewer, our projected revenue is 11.7 million. So far, we collected 6.4. Expenditures are projected at 10.6 million. So far, we incurred 2.6 million. Then for sanitation, our projected revenue is 3.6. So far, we collected 2.1. Our projected expenditures are 2.5. So far, we incurred 1.4 million, sorry. We do have a surplus of $730,000 under sanitation. Next, we have a Major H fund. Sorry, that's missing in there, Scott. So for Major H, I just wanted to bring this up because we had to move a few officers from CFD fund to Major H. So right now, after the moving all those 4 officers from general fund to Major H, we do have a lot higher expenditures than we projected during our budget season. So after the mid-year adjustments, those numbers will be changing significantly for Major H. So this schedule basically includes all the adjustments we are going to present today. So after, for Major H so far, we collected $640,000 in revenue, and our projected revenue is 1.6 million. For the expenditures, we have a total projected expenditure 2.3 million. So far, we incurred almost $600,000. So we do have a shortfall of $732,000 under budgeted amount, just because all these adjustments were not included in the budget. So after that, our fund balance would be, projected fund balance would be $136,000. For the mid-year adjustments, any questions?
Mr. Rivera.
Yeah, thank you. Now, you were saying that there was a fund balance, you're talking about Major H, or the general fund of 136,000?
That's Major H.
Major H. So there was 136,000 fund balance and a $2.3 million estimate of expenditures, and the income was only 1.6?
Right. That's the projected revenue, 1.6. Yes, that's for this fiscal year. But as of last year, June 30th, 2015, we have fund balance of Major H, $869,000. But that 136, that's projected.
At the end of the year?
At the end of
After
this current.
After all the losses?
Right. After the adjustments and everything.
Thank you.
Any other questions? For mid-year adjustments, we are adjusting sales tax and use tax. That is increasing by $369,000. Then property tax in lieu sales/use tax, that is going down by almost $300,000. This is basically, we are decreasing property tax but increasing sales tax is the triple flip. Then we are increasing Singular's Atwater Tower revenue by $1776, other revenue by $20,000. Then for Community and Development Department, we are projecting that building permits revenue would be more than what we originally budgeted. So we are increasing that by $125,000. For that, we are adding some salaries and wages part-time for expenditure for $1,638, plan and fees, that would be $5,000. Parking and parks and community services, recreation fees, we are lowering that revenue by $8,400. Question?
Mr. Rivera.
Yeah, now going back to your building permit fees, you projected how much?
We have, in the budget is 200,000, that's what's budgeted, but we are increasing that to $325,000.
Okay, now, that's due to more permits being taken because of the big cuts that were given to the developers?
I don't know,
Potentially.
but we have more development in the city, so yes, that's due
I
to
know.
the economy.
And all the development had like $3,000 per unit taken off or somewhere around there.
Could be.
So when we were, and this was a point before, so when you're getting all this development, it's a one-time deal for pulling the permits, but all the costs to the citizens or the residents of Atwater are going to continue on, whether it's from the wells or fixing the roads and everything else. So
Correct.
it looks good for this year, but in the long run, it's not really there, the money. You're seeing a one-time deal. Okay, is that not correct for this?
More people moves into the city, then they will be investing in the city too. They're going shopping and all that stuff, so they would be generating more revenue too, so that would be under
And using more
sales
water,
tax.
and another $1 million well. I'm saying that you can look at the flip side and all of that, but flat out, right now, it's looking good. But this is what I'm afraid of, is in the past, things look good. Flipping and selling piece of property back to ourselves or other investments to make it look good is not really doing things. I want to point that out to everyone that might be listening, that, yeah, there's an increase right there, but there's going to be a cost down the road. All right, thank you.
Then community center rental, we are lowering that to by $5,500 because we lost church. For the city council, we are increasing expenditures under salaries and wages and Medicare. For city administration, rent and leases, we are increasing that expenditure by $2,000. For finance department, we are increasing professional services by $70,000 because the gas tax audit we had through state controller's office, that costed us $70,000, and it was not included in our budget. For non-departmental, we are adding $5,300 for pre-employment activities. Under police, all these changes are because we are moving 3 officers to Major H fund, so there is some savings from salaries and benefits there. So overall, for general fund, we are increasing revenue by $203,000, and we are increasing expenditures by $50,000. For other funds, for general fund capital, we do have more revenue under CMAQ grant is for sidewalk improvement project by $81,000. Then all the other grants, we are bringing that revenue down. Then we are increasing expenditures for Bruhack Road sidewalk because that would be the city match for that grant. For Major H, the revenue is less than what we projected, so new projections are showing $1.6 million in revenue, but in the budget it was 1.7, so we are bringing that lower. Then for all those expenditures there, because we are moving those officers to Major H. Then we do have rents and leases to pay off police cars lease payment. We only have one payment left for the lease, so we are going to pay that off during this year, hopefully in this month. So that's why I'm adding $28,477 there. Machinery and equipment, we are adding $55,000. That's for a CAL FIRE's pickup truck. Police grants and funds, under that fund, we are increasing revenue under 3 different grants, and we are increasing expenditures under 2 grants. For special department expenses, we are increasing $10,000, and overtime, we are increasing by $25,000. For gas tax and street improvement fund, we are adding some expenditures there. $100,000 for Winton Way Road Improvement Project, $100,000 for Fruitland Avenue Road improvements, then $700 just for small tools. Uniforms and clothing is $1,000, and professional services, that's for JLB Engineering Services, that would be increased by $16,000. For Parks and Recreation Fund, we are increasing that revenue by $14,000. Water Enterprise Fund, we are adding $20,000 there for a lawsuit. Then for Sewer Enterprise Fund, we are adding $60,000 for the lawsuit. Then we are bringing professional services by $150,000 down. That's not having to complete repairs at oxidation. And we are also increasing $72,000 under professional services. That's to get a survey and studies done for a project. Under sewer fund capital replacements, we are adding $291,000 for West Yost contract. For internal services, building maintenance charges, that's just a correction from the budget amount, so we are bringing that down. For professional services, we are adding $39,000 to replace main transformer at a Castle Youth Center. Employee benefits, under professional services, we are adding $65,000 for CalPERS side funding, and actuarial evaluation services need to be done. That report has to be done every 3 years, so this year we have to get that done. And we are bringing unemployment insurance down by $10,000. For risk management fund, we are increasing professional services by $25,000. And the next interfund transfer is just a transfer between 2 funds. Is from general fund to general fund capital by $18,000. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Are there any questions or comments to the report? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the report?
Regarding Measure H, are you moving 4 officers?
3 officers.
3 officers. Okay, you're moving them from the general fund to Measure H.
Correct.
The tenets of Measure H call for the monies to be used to augment and not supplant the general fund. That sounds to me like we're supplanting and not augmenting. Can I have an explanation on that before I chair the meeting next month? Because that will come up, so I need to try to get some kind of a clarification so I can work with it.
Mr. Terpstra?
Well, staff will certainly look into that and get you a response before the meeting.
Pardon?
Staff will certainly look into that.
Okay,
and get
I'd
you a response
appreciate
before
that.
the meeting.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this item?
Mr. Mayor, I just have one question. I know this was one of your thorns in your side when you spoke for many, many years. I thought council didn't receive any pay, and I think I noticed something there under city administration that council was receiving pay, and I would like that explained, because all you folks that I thought were kind enough to do away with your stipends and car allowance, so on and so forth. When, we're listening now to, you're moving money from one account to the other. So I'm just curious, and I think several others are in the audience. Thank you.
You're correct. There are no wages or benefits for the council, with one exception. Mr. Rivero has opted for minimal benefits and stipend. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone would like to make a motion to accept the report?
There'd be a motion to adopt the resolution
I'm
for
sorry.
the budget revisions.
The only thing I'd like to say, prior to our voting on this matter, is that, you look at this report, and there is a whole lot of red when it comes to general fund. And we've got our work obviously cut out for us here. Anyone can see that. And I certainly hope that within the months to come that we can really try and formulate some ideas, something that we can do to ease the pain on this one, as they say. I intend to schedule some budgetary workshops in the weeks and months to come, and starting with, we do have a town hall on the 25th, and I would hope that folks might come there and offer suggestions starting on the 25th. Mr. Raymond.
I just have to chime in real quick that it's more borrowing, more spending, more deficits, more shortfalls. It's going to be a rough road ahead, but we need to make sure that we have adequate funding in these accounts for the future. So, I'll bring it up later, obviously, but we may need to look at City Council approving hires, new hires, and position fulfillment, but not necessarily the person, but the position, because we got to do something to make sure we have money for the rest of the time we're here in the future.
And, something Councilmember Raymond had brought up here a couple of weeks ago was looking at the possibilities for some type of privatization wherever we can. I'm looking on here, and maybe you can help me out, Lakhwinder, but I'm looking for, what do we have budgeted in the way of parks?
I'm sorry, for what?
For parks?
For parks. I don't think we changed a lot.
Well, in particular, ground maintenance at all the parks. I know that we had several people, organizations, if you will, that had come forward that were looking at this adopt a park type of stuff. And frankly, I'm a little disappointed. If it's being done, it's not, in my mind anyway, it's not working out the way I would hope that it would.
For parks and community services, we have budgeted expenditures of $604,000. It's just combined parks and community services, but I can get you the breakdown for these later.
Would you please?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And on that happy note, does anyone wish to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. Call for the question.
Raymond?
No.
Rivero?
No.
Bergman?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Price?
Reluctantly, yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 10-minute break.
Sure.
Well, I understand that. Jim, the Mac, the speakers aren't working.
No, Stacy was here when. Stacy said because of evidence prepared, which.
Switch back and forth.
I don't have my keys.
Oh, no.
So, sorry, the one time I don't have my keys is tonight.
There's no worries.
Looks like it, yeah, well.
Hey, Jim. Is it good? We ready to go?
30 seconds. Brian? Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. We had some audio-visual issues that needed to be rectified, and I am told that they have been so rectified, so, all right. Next agenda item, please.
Adopting a resolution designating an always stop at Olive Avenue and Winton Way.
Mr. McBride.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for allowing us to present this item tonight. On the overhead here, I just have a brief schematic of the location. As you can see, there's a little green dot there that says 1. We're going to be talking about the intersection of Olive Avenue and Winton Way. As you're aware, that's basically it's a T intersection there. A lot of proximity. There's a lot of offset intersections on Winton Way, as you're aware of, and so we're going to be discussing that tonight. I think also in the meeting we do have, if you should have any questions, we do have the traffic engineer, Jose Benavides is here in the front row this evening, and I think that I saw Officer Duncan, although he may, okay, he could be here too if you need his opinion or have any questions for him. Just wanted to point out, as we've discussed previously, as you know, we have a group that works internally identifying, talking about traffic and pedestrian safety issues. We've been working on a large list that's been refined down, that's come to you recently for your review and input as well. Spent a lot of time discussing it with the Community Development and Resources Commission, and we actually brought several things forward that have had some action or approval by this body. As you know, you approved a stop sign at the intersection there. It's a commercial driveway on Commerce Avenue. Also approved a stop sign location at First and Broadway, or First and Atwater Boulevard, I should say. And we've also taken some action to get grant funding for dedicated, or what you call protective phasing there at the existing signal at Schaefer and Juniper Avenue. So I've been making a lot of work out of this group, bringing it to you to resolve some of the problems. And so tonight we wanted to discuss this specific item for you. As the staff report pointed out, we had been working on a traffic synchronization project to kind of link all of the signals that exist between Highway 99 and downtown Atwater. We recognize that we're having a lot of significant backups and some traffic accidents at Olive Avenue and Winton Way. With the help of the traffic engineer, we prepared what's called a warrant analysis. Based upon the volumes, it meets the warrants for a signal currently, and the city has been able to procure a grant for the design engineering and also the installation of that signal. We're going to be coming back to you probably in March to award the contract for the design and engineering for the synchronization project, as well as the signal plans and design. As an interim measure, until you are able to have the signal installed, you are permitted to have a stop sign as an interim, or basically a temporary measure. And so that's the point of discussion tonight. We wanted to bring this back for your consideration. We've had assistance to more or less prepare a striping plan to show where the signage would go, the dimensions needed for the roadway, to accommodate the all-way stop at this location. And so this is part of your packet, part of the resolution. If you were to take action to approve this, what we would do is add this work to the existing work that's been bid on Winton Way, so that as that work is finishing up, we can have it matched in with the striping and the signage so that it's all done at the same time. This is not going to happen within a week or two. We need to actually have some of the other improvements done for the other project to make sure that it can actually work. Some of the benefits or some of the features of this, as you can tell, you end up adding some areas for a left turn. As you can see, there's a left turn arrow there that would allow for a left turn on northbound Winton Way onto Olive Avenue. This kind of corresponds with, let's see if I can scroll down just a little bit here. As part of the improvement project underway, there's going to end up being a left turn pocket that's going to allow for a left turn onto Broadway. As you see at the very bottom there of the page, it says matching existing striping. That's kind of accommodating that left turn that's going to be provided on Winton Way onto Broadway. So that's why the two projects do work together. They kind of have an area set aside for the left turns for that movement. The remainder is pretty straightforward. It is accommodating some of the widths needed. You previously adopted a resolution to prohibit parking and stopping, so those will be posted in the near future, and that additional space allows for the lane widths to do this improvement that we're looking at here. That's essentially all that I have to say on the matter. We're here to kind of answer your questions, see if we can help you with any questions that you might have. I know that we've got the technical people in the room that can help you, but please, if you've got anything, please let us know. That's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Vineyard.
Scott, detail, I guess it's 29 and detail 9. Maybe detail 9 is the stop sign. Is that a double-sided stop sign on the north side of the crosswalk there? The north side of the intersection of that map? It doesn't show up there. You may have to move the map down just a little bit. It's just north of the crosswalk there. It shows a stop sign in the middle. Is that a double-sided stop sign for the north and southbound?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So one would be in the center and one on the right side.
Yeah, just so that the northbound side would see it. Because we don't have one on where the turn lane is, because there's no island. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to this matter?
Don Hyder, 3349 Nautical Court, Atwater. I travel down Olive Avenue at least twice a day. My father is a local pastor here in town, and the congregation is actually down in the armpit of Atwater. And so traversing down this area, my kids actually go to a private school down in this neighborhood. And trying to get out from Olive onto Winton Way is a bear of a matter to do, especially around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And myself, I've almost been in several near misses coming out. Traffic gets stopped, they leave a little opening there, you kind of creep out, and then somebody comes flying by and almost takes the nose off your car. And so I'm encouraging the council, I know this has been brought up at least once, but I'm encouraging you to go ahead and approve this matter, at least looking into it, because I know we've had a few accidents here. Some of the parishioners of our church have actually been involved in accidents here, so I know there's been at least 2, and I'm sure many more. And I think this is a step in the right direction, especially if we are going to put a signal here anyways. Let's start getting people's mindset ready to roll in that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the matter? Bring back to the council. Any council members have any comments or questions? They flashed at the same time. Pro Tem Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just kind of had a little bit of a question here. I know we were given information last meeting by Officer Duncan that I believe there were 57 accidents at this intersection, which is a significant number. My concern is with this stop sign, especially when in the busy part of the day, you're going to make it almost impossible for anyone on Broadway to be able to make a left turn onto Winton Way. The traffic's going to be backed up so much. I see that as somewhat of an issue. If you can explain it to me, or I don't know if we can make it a right turn only, but to me, that's going to cause more of a traffic issue on people on Broadway trying to make a left there.
Yeah, Mayor Term, are you saying making a left turn out of Broadway onto Winton Way?
From Broadway onto Winton Way, it's going to be very difficult.
So you'd make a left turn out to go southbound on Winton Way?
Correct.
Nearly impossible to do right now. And so I'm not sure this is going to make it any worse. We have a lot of intersections on Winton Way that are offset. And unfortunately, I think what the city is going to be faced to in the future is looking at providing medians to make some dedicated right turns. You have so many that are offset and there's not much distance. And that's unfortunate. It's just the design of the way the road is set up. So what you don't see here, and I actually could show it there, as I mentioned before, we are going to include a left turn pocket for left turn on southbound Winton Way onto Broadway, so that as you're going south on Winton Way, you have a turn pocket to get in, and there's a landing area that will be created for that little area for that, which you don't have today. So in some ways, it'll make it a little easier because you have some room where you can come out and kind of navigate and stay in that little area until you can merge in. Right now, you don't have that. You just got the full travel lanes going both directions. So if there's any little benefit to that, I would say that might be the saving grace to it.
Okay. And then, didn't you say there is a plan to put a light here?
Yes.
And when are we looking at that?
You've been funded for a CMAQ grant for traffic synchronization. It's all the signals near Highway 99, Applegate and Winton Way, and to create a new signal here. And I think the funding year is 2018. And we're going to be 18-19. And we're working on the design and engineering going into this next fiscal year.
Okay.
Mr. Vineyard.
Yeah. Just in reference to the problem that I've seen, I've seen numerous near accidents here. I've seen numerous pedestrians, both who've used the light and not used the crosswalk light, almost get hit here. Actually, last Thursday, I actually saw a young lady with a stroller on the Shell side push the light and stand there and wait and wait. And neither the northbound traffic nor the southbound traffic, nobody stopped. She waited for 5 minutes, kept pushing the light. Nobody stopped. And I don't blame her. She didn't try to cross. She's got a baby in a stroller. Nobody stopped. She gave up. And the stop signs here would definitely correct that. As far as Broadway, there's numerous other exits off of Broadway rather than trying to make a southbound turn off of Broadway to get back over to Atwater Boulevard safely. And yes, it is inconvenient, yes, but I just think it's well worth the stop signs. Litigation that could occur without having them, putting them in, is immense, just like it is over on Capitola and Fruitland as far as having the stop signs there. So I think we just need to put them in.
Mr. Rivera.
I asked Scott, on Olive, when the state had the frontage road attached clear down to Livingston, was there a study done back then to show the impacts that would cause? Because, I mean, didn't that impact this greatly? Because now you not only had just the people living there, but you have people using that frontage road and all coming out here, which has made it much worse than, I mean, wasn't there some kind of study done to show if the state was going to do that, the impacts that they would be responsible for? I mean,
None that I'm aware of. I've not seen it.
Because, I mean, what they did is create a bad situation, made it worse. So, I mean, for us right here, but that's what I was...
It probably definitely contributed to it, yes. Mayor, I think that Commissioner Heiler had something that he had forgotten during his earlier.
Certainly.
I think that Scott spoke to it a little bit, but to answer Mr. Bergman's question, coming off of Broadway, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference in that currently around 3 o'clock, if you go by there, you'll see that traffic backs up all the way between Drakeley and Elm as we speak. So whether you put a stop sign in or not, you're not changing how Broadway is going to be affected. The other thing that is affected, and I think will be helped, is because, you know, you were mentioning, Councilman Vineyard, that the crosswalk, somebody took 5 minutes to get across. It takes 5 minutes sometimes to get out of that intersection. I know that sounds like I'm exaggerating, but you can sit there and time it, and you cannot get out of there, which what happens is now you have traffic backing up on Olive as well. And so people are coming around that curve right there, and you're going to have other issues. So I think putting it in, you're not losing anything, but you are gaining by helping traffic flow. So anyways, that's all I have for now, I think. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? I'd like to just, for the record, add that I believe also that there would be a certain amount of inconvenience on this particular stretch with the addition of the stop signs. However, you know, this is another Linden just waiting to happen, in my opinion. As was pointed out, the crosswalk, as I have noted in the past, you have a flashing embedded crosswalk, and who pays attention to it? Because sometimes people are and sometimes people are not in there, and at nighttime, this is a extremely dangerous area right there. It's poorly lit. I think the inconvenience that would come from this is going to pay dividends in the long run as far as the safety aspects, and ultimately the traffic flow, I think, as was pointed out off of Olive, will be better off for that. I support this, and I would hope that I would see support also from the council. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any other comments? Call for the question.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Raymond,
No.
Rivero,
Yes.
Bergman,
I still have serious concerns about it being there, but in light of the information we got from Officer Duncan last meeting, I'll vote yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion carries. Awarding a cooperative purchase for one new 2016 Fire Command vehicle.
Mayor, council members, tonight I come before you to ask for awarding a cooperative purchase for one command vehicle for your fire department. Currently, we have my command vehicle that is at 130,000 miles, and we are looking to currently finish the BC process for the fire marshal position, and this would allow your fire department to have that individual in a command vehicle to do day-to-day operations, respond to incidents, and other needs of the city as well. We're looking at a Chevy Tahoe 2016 four-wheel drive. I went out and got bids from local vendors and also from here's Oakdale or Elk Grove, and they were significantly less than the other vendors around here. But once again, they are part of the state bidding process, and we were able to do it through a cooperative purchase to them. Again, this truck, there's nothing special. It's just a four-wheel drive Tahoe. It allows us to do our day-to-day business and respond to incidents with a vehicle for commanding incidents when the time arises. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions for Chief Pimentel? Mr. Rivera.
Yeah, usually when a council approves something or disapproves it, it usually comes before the council, and the council decides if it should go out to a bid process. So I never heard anything of any type of bid process going through the city at any time. And I know that the $1 million fire truck, there was no bid process for that either. So, I'm hearing you say you went out for a bid process, but I don't think the council ever approved. And if we had, please refresh my memory, because I don't remember ever coming to council for us to go out to a bid process. And usually there's a certain element, certain procedures you have to follow in a bid process. So, I'm referring this to Frank, did you go out to a bid process?
No, but under the current City of Atwater purchasing Section 9, and the city may participate in purchase and contract established by other political jurisdictions, and I think you're going through the state bid on this
Yes, sir.
vehicle?
Yes, sir.
So that exempts us from having to go out to any type of formal bidding.
And I agree with that, but it never came to the council to go ahead and approve to go out to this form of bidding. And another thing, too, I had a question because we just had a budget presentation, and right now on the sheet here, it's saying that it's $40,000 for this command vehicle, but the person giving us the budget said it was a $55,000 pickup truck for CAL FIRE. And so I'm curious, because that's a quote that I wrote down from her is $55,000, and now I'm seeing $40,000. So which numbers do I look at? Because on this
That includes equipment.
Councilman Rivera, if I can elaborate on that, on the staff report, it also includes there's equipment for the safety and the command to allow it fully equipped. I think we've all learned my experiences before with the truck. Now, moving on further, I realize that we need to address all the items that need to be purchased with these vehicles or any other type of apparatus that will be purchased for the fire department. And in the staff report, it identifies another $13,400 in the additional funds that would be able to purchase the lightings for all the Code 3 lights for it, all the radios to do your commanding your incidents, and a command box, and the striping for the vehicle,
Okay,
which will bring you basically just under the $55,000.
Okay, I just want a clarification, because that's what I see here is $40,000 being presented on the one form, and then she had mentioned a $55,000 pickup. So, and I guess with the lights and everything, it becomes a command vehicle, but that's still quite a bit of money. For, as you said, the one vehicle we have, it was 130-some thousand miles on it. But then again, the Measure H fund, I heard tonight too, was going to be in the red, $700,000, even though there's going to be a little surplus at the end. That's still $700,000 more being spent than what's coming in. So it's a good thing we had that surplus there. I'm not sure that this is. And you said that this was for the new fire
marshal position? Yes, sir.
Position? Okay, thank you. And that was, what, $180-some thousand position? I don't recall the exact numbers. But anyway, thank you.
Mr. Terpstra, did you have some input for the?
No, not unless there's a question from the council
Okay.
about the procurement.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions to this item? Anyone in the audience have any comments or questions? Well, my question to Chief Pimentel, you mentioned this is a four-wheel drive vehicle. It's only going to be around in the city, correct?
Negative. We go out and do responses outside for major incidents. It's through the master mutual aid agreements through the state, and such as myself, as I've done previous in the past 3 years, I go out and major campaign fires such as the roof fire. We go out there to take strike teams and help out with those incidents, and in that same sense, we get reimbursement and get revenue for the city.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, we're purchasing this for the fire marshal for the city.
Yes, sir, which is a battalion chief position, which will have coverage and do other things in the means of fire service as well.
Well, as I look at the purchase cost here, well, Mr. Rivero did bring up a good point, you know, as far as our Measure H funding and where it's at right now. I'm a little leery on that. But that being said, we still haven't hired our battalion chief for the fire marshal position, and that's going to be for a while, and I won't get into a discussion about that at this time. We'll be talking about that at the next council meeting, but
Mayor, if I may, also it's going to take about 3 to 4 months to get the vehicle, get it
Understand.
outfitted, and get it all taken care of, so it won't be something that will be quickly turned around.
Right.
It will take us some time to get that vehicle set up. We're doing most of the equipment installing in-house ourselves, obviously to save some money.
understand. Okay. Well, I would, well, Pro Tem Bergman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Since it sounds like you have some reservations as to whether this position will be filled or not, I'd like to suggest that we table this until we know for sure that the position will be filled, and then we'll address it then.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to suggest a motion to approve the purchase contingent on the hiring.
Just to add additionally, Chief Corporation will be coming in at some time to identify what's going on. There's 2 people in the process currently right now. We did do an interview with yourself, Mayor, and Councilman Vineyard. The 2 people are doing their backgrounds right now, so the position will be filled.
Right. And as I said, next council meeting, she's going to give us a briefing on that right there.
Yes, sir.
I'll second your motion, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Rivero.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, I feel uncomfortable about this, like the fire truck issue, where it just went out, it got purchased, there was no bid process, and in fact, we actually have individuals in this city that work for a company that makes fire trucks, and they asked why it didn't go out to a bid where their company could have had an opportunity to. So, and I realize that, yeah, you can do that sort of thing, but I don't think it's right. I think everything should be on an up and up. See, if you can go out to bid and there is somebody coming in at a lesser price, I know, hey, the citizens have already paid the taxes. That doesn't mean you need to use it. If you can save $10,000 or $20,000, and you save $10,000 or $20,000, and in this case, maybe $5,000. So, anyway, I don't like it. I don't think that the council, it didn't come to the council, the decision was made without council approval, or maybe somebody had talked on the council to go ahead with it, but I think it should go to an open bid process, and if we don't save money, then we don't save money. If we do, then you go this route. Anyway, that was my input.
Councilman Vineyard.
Maybe I missed it. Did you say you got bids?
I went out and researched before we went strictly with the state bid.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I was doing the best for the city, and found out that this was the best amount of money that was for this vehicle, and that's why we decided to go through the cooperative purchase.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, call for the question.
Berkman,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Rivera,
No?
Raymond,
Confirming this is contingent upon the hiring of a battalion chief?
Correct.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
City Council comments and requests for future agenda items.
Mr. Vineyard, start us off.
Just a reminder, March 15th is President's Day, so the offices will be closed. Trash pickup will be delayed a day. March 19th is the spring cleanup from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. out there by the, well, hopefully it'll still be by the yard, net field. Okay. That's all I have to say right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Raymond?
Real quick, this is, the city manager had asked me to get a hold of Gina, but I've been out of town. From the last meeting, what I requested was opengov.com, and it's for transparency in our financial issues. Also, I'd like to look at having the city council approve either the hiring of a new position or fulfillment of even transferring somebody over. Without, council has no say in the person, just the position. We have to make sure that the finances are under control.
Understand. That it? Mr. Rivera?
Well, I'd just like to offer my wife an early happy Valentine's Day. You're a beautiful, lovely lady, and I love you, so happy Valentine's Day early.
You better do that.
Mr. Berkman?
Oh, you want me to come in behind that mush, huh?
Well, you better wish her a happy birthday.
Love you, honey. Last Wednesday, when we had our gathering here, there were some individuals that expressed some concern over the flag situation in this room. They asked the question, the need for 2 U.S. flags, the need for 2 state flags, and the prior positioning. Where they're at now, we kind of moved them that evening to see how they looked, and they've stayed. I think that's something we should address. Maybe we'd look up flag etiquette. And the flags themselves, when you do look at them close, they are dusty and a little dingy. So I'd like to look at our flags. I'm very proud of both of our flags, and I'd like to see them taken care of in the proper way. And then I think we really need to do a review on how meetings are run. There are different rules that are used. There's Robert's rules, and I don't know if you're familiar with Rosenberg's rules. I think Rosenberg's rules of order may apply greater or better to the city in the way we run a meeting. What I would like to see is maybe we have a comparison of the two, and I know we've used parts of Robert's in the past, but I think it's time we adopt Robert's or Rosenberg's to follow, for these meetings to be run by and followed. And that is about it.
Okay. Okay. On the 18th, Thursday the 18th, Merced County Associated Governments, MCAG, we will be addressing the Transportation Expenditure Plan, which is the half-cent countywide sales tax strictly for transportation issues, specifically road repair, sidewalks, curbing, that type of thing. It is an open meeting, and I would encourage anyone that would like to come and listen to the presentation that will be there and for the vote and make comment if you so choose. And I apologize, I do not know where this meeting is going to be held this go-around, but if you go to the Merced County website, it will have the calendar for that. And as I mentioned earlier, on the 25th, Thursday, that's Thursday the 25th, Town Hall meeting, 6 o'clock at the Community Center. And I would hope that we would get a great participation over there so that we can start discussing things that we have coming up. We've got a lot of challenges, folks. This budget, if you listen to it tonight, this is not a good deal for us right now. So your suggestions, your comments, your inputs, good, bad, or indifferent, are very important to all of us. So if you have any ideas on that, please come along and join us on the 25th at the Community Center, 6 p.m. We have discussed over and over about the watering issues, that are going on. And we've got some gorgeous weather. 70 degrees in February, loving it, but it's not El Nino. So please be very, very careful. If you're still doing some watering, be real religious about that. There's folks that are still watering. I see it up and down different streets here, businesses as well, that are still watering even after a torrential downpour like we had here a week or so ago. And, there's just no need to have the sprinkler systems running, after a good rainfall like we had. So please be more cognizant of that, if you would, please. Lastly, is there anyone here representing the Merced Sun-Star? Merced County News? And not you. Well, I'm specifically the Merced News Network, County News Network, TV. Well, I'm just going to say this straight out, and I'm going to take my PC hat off and let you have it. The media in this town, with one exception, John Derby's publications, who represents good journalism in my mind. They're the only ones that accurately cover our meetings. They're the only one that covers accurately the events in our city. They're the only ones that will print anything that is good in the city, rather than an accident, a murder, a shooting of some sort, something, like if it bleeds, it reads, that seems to be the one thing that is always in the journalistic world there. But recently, as a matter of fact, most recently today, I saw a really irresponsible piece of journalism posted on the internet concerning this video thing that was brought up by Mr. Lee earlier. And this whole thing about the video, that's old news. That's a 4-year-old story. It's lousy, I agree. We have a real problem in the Secretariat, Kelso determined area. Nobody denies that. It's been like that for a long time. Nobody denies that. But to have the type of coverage that was brought forth by the Merced County News Network, TV, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, I think is probably some of the most irresponsible attempts at journalism that I've ever seen. And the Merced Sun-Star just stopped covering us. They'll look at YouTube video, they'll read somebody else's accounts, whatever. But they're not, to me, Sun-Star has dropped the ball as far as their responsibility to this community. If there's going to be responsible journalism in this area, then they need to start covering stories such as, did anybody know that we had a gentleman and his wife from the community donate $15,000 for Cops and Fire for Kids toy program this last year? Didn't see it. Wasn't there. John Derby's paper covered it. The other ones didn't. The only time we ever see anything, and we'll see it tomorrow morning, sure enough, because we had another incident over there in the Secretariat determined area, we'll see it front page tomorrow. Atwater again on the skids for another act of violence. There are other items within the city that warrant good journalistic practices. But when we start seeing, the tabloid journalism like I saw today on the internet, to me, that's irresponsible. It's tabloid. And when you put things like that and make accusations, as they did right there, with no basis of fact, and having the type of story such as this video thing that's 4 years old and has already been dealt with, then to me that's just totally and completely irresponsible. End of rant. I thank you all for joining us here tonight. Thank you all that are watching at home. God bless all of you. Meeting adjourned.